Hi y'all, and we're going to get spring started today at Stockslager. I'm coming to check out the plants that I have on order, but if you're local, they also have a pansy and viola festival going on this weekend through next weekend where you'll get 20% off the pansies and violas. I'll show you those right quick, and then we're going to go take a look at through some of the hoop houses and see some of the Proven Winners things and other annuals that I've ordered that will be coming at the beginning of May, right before the end or right before the beginning of Mother's Day. So if you're not in a position to plant like bulbs in your garden, pansies and violas are really great for early spring color. Here we have pretty long of a spring winter and it stays pretty cool, and these will give you lots of color in your containers, or you can plant them in the ground. So they have lots of little varieties here. This Johnny's Jump Up mix is really popular, different yellows and purples, and we got lots of pansies over here and lots of cute other little things like some ranunculus. These are really cute baskets for Easter. Some primrose or primula. We've already got lots of hanging baskets and Boston ferns available. Of course, these are frost tender, so you wouldn't want to put them out yet. And they're probably hanging in here for extra space. But if you wanted to decorate the inside of your home, Boston ferns also do well inside of your home since they are like a shade-loving plant. I love this thing. I see it every time I come. They have several of them usually down there. Such a beautiful fern. What I really love about Stockslagers is all of their tiny little house plants. So if you wanted to build a little fairy garden, they have all these tiny ferns, things with lots of good texture. This is I've seen this before. What is this? Foxtail fern. Yeah, those are really pretty. And these get really big. Here, they're not hardy outside, but you can plant those in the ground. And they're really nice texture contrast for other annuals and things in your garden. The succulent table is looking good as always. These are darling. Look at these little concrete containers. I'm here slightly before they open, and they're busy watering everything because they're having an event today, and I wanted to get here before the crowd shows up, so I'm not getting a bunch of people on camera and so I can get the best footage. But they have these really darling moss-covered purses here with Easter plants in them. Some of these you could actually, after they're done with the season, I see a spider plant and things in here that you could decompile these and plant them up as houseplants. But just check out all this color. This is like the smell of the greenhouse in the spring, and all of this color is what really gets me going. So like last year after I came for the first time to check on my annuals, this year I became really excited when I scheduled this visit to come see all of the things. Lots of beautiful hanging baskets. This one's cute. What is this? 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. Really pretty. All right, we'll start heading into some of these side greenhouses here. We got some lemons and some limes and some orange bushes or trees that are starting to bloom. Some peppers and eggplant looks like. I love these dark ZZ plants. So pretty. And they're really easy to, like I've showed you that I put a lot of my houseplants in leca. These transition really well to leca, so if you want to avoid any fungus gnat issues and have a house plant in your house, you remove all the soil, wash it off of the roots or the tubers. These things have kind of like tubers on them, and you just stick them in leca and keep them watered regularly, the leca, and they do really well without soil. Got lots of hanging baskets with 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲. These are the kind of vining plants here that do really well. These will be really pretty hanging baskets. They're already blooming. Like I said, a lot of these are annuals, they're more tropical, so they will not survive a freeze, but they'll be beautiful. We still got 5 weeks or so until our last frost. So they got lots of growing to do, and they already look really good. Here's some baby containers getting ready for spring as well. I really like to see garden centers putting tags on things that are really big like this, because just knowing and talking to some people, you should really know what lighting conditions you're putting your plants in. Oh look, this is like a Bordeaux. It's very similar to a Bordeaux if it's not Because if you put this in shade, obviously it's got some petunias and geraniums and some other things in it that aren't going to do like super well and perform really well for you in the shade. So putting this big on here and bright so everyone can see it and know that this needs sun is really great for the consumer who may not be like such an avid gardener. We got some hellebores. If you're into hellebores, they bloom this time of year, even a little earlier. Mine's been blooming for a couple weeks now. And I like that they have the wedding party mix here. I bought some of these and I really like the wedding party mix. They're super frilly, unlike a lot of the other hellebores you find in garden centers or locally. So that's really interesting to see. They also have a lot of just the pinks going on here. Oh, this one's pretty too. Look at this one. Whirlwind Romance. Let's take a look at some of these hostas that are coming out, because I do love my hostas. There's one here. I planted this one last year called Above the Clouds. I'm really excited about this variety. It's supposed to be kind of blue. You can see it there. And it gets pretty large. And so I planted this one in the back that I just showed you in the last video where all the crocuses are. And I think it's going to look really beautiful there and be a nice textural contrast. We also have Empress Woo, which I had at the last garden, and I've already planted at the new one. It gets really large if given enough water. Echo the Sun, which stays a little more yellow. So I think I have pretty much every one of these varieties in my garden. I'm not sure if I have Hope Springs Eternal, so that may be one I need to pick up. But I know I got Love Story and Echo the Sun. They've also got lots of heuchera down here, which is one of my favorite shade perennials. If you're really into foliage and you have never grown heuchera before, Proven Winners line of heuchera are really good. Ball Gown, these are newer varieties, Ball Gown and Evening Gown. Evening Gown is not a replacement to Black Pearl, but it is also a very dark colored heuchera. You can see the newer leaves look a little more mahogany, but it's not Mahogany Monster. I'm not sure if that one's here or not. Hopscotch, this one's a really beautiful one. I had it at my last garden. I need to pick it up for this garden. But these Evening Gown varieties and Ball Gown ones get really big and have really lobed leaves. Looky here, things I wasn't expecting to find here. Look at all these new Proven Winners Macrophylla hydrangeas. They're either Macrophylla, ooh, Fairy Trail. Ooh, look. I know a lot of y'all were wondering about, I gotta crawl back here under all these containers. These are Fairy Trail green. So I would like to pick one of these up today because I don't know if I'll be able to. If I don't get it, one of you might get it, but Fairy Trail's been one I have not seen locally at all. So you know Proven Winners released this new species of hydrangea called Cascade. So it's Cascade hydrangea here on the tag. There's Fairy Trail was the original variety, which was released a couple years ago, or Fairy Trail Bride. Now they have Fairy Trail Green and Fairy Trail White to create kind of like a class of this variety as they're growing, and they're starting to get buds on them. So that's really interesting. But there's a lot of them in here. Less Dense Skyview, which is brand new this year. Ooh, Wee Bit Innocent. Ah. Why didn't no one tell me they had all these? Oh, here it is. Fairy Trail Bride. So this is the original release. And these are smaller 1 gallons for $20 a piece, which is a pretty good price. Since you can't find these locally at a lot of places, you can come here and get it for $20. If you buy it online and have it shipped, it's probably going to be a quart size container for probably $20 or $20 more. And it will probably be trimmed significantly so you won't have blooms necessarily this spring. But if you come grab one of these, and if you're concerned about them selling out, come grab them and keep them in your home or your garage and set them out on nice days and bring them in when it's going to get really cold. The foliage will probably be okay as long as it don't get like super low here. But some of these are pretty nice. Some of them are actually bigger. So these are 1 gallon, looks like. These look like 2 gallon. And honestly, those are really good prices for 1 gallon hydrangea macrophyllas. But a lot of the newer, like Let's Dance Skyview, or Proven Winners varieties that are hybrids that bloom on old wood and new wood. So even in our zone 6, typically these like macrophyllas necessarily won't reliably bloom for you. If we have a really cold winter or really late frost, You may not get like early spring blooms, but because they bloom on new wood, you will get blooms probably in June or July, and some of them produce buds really quickly, and so you'll get several rounds of blooms all throughout the season. Can you tell I'm excited about the hydrangeas I was never expecting to find locally, especially this early and about to bloom? Love it. Here are these coffee cup calicaceas too, which I never, did I end up getting one of these last year? I can't remember if I got one or not. I moved so early that, well, it was later in the season, but we had made the decision in like May to get the new home, and so last summer is a bit of a blur. But coffee cups is really nice. They get really large, and then when they get a little bigger, their leaves kind of turn like this, and then they hold water and they tip out water when it rains, which is really darling. All right, let's just get a view of all these varieties because I'm really impressed that they're here. 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 Innocent. I'm supposed to have one of those coming this year, I think, from Proven Winners, but I may pick one up anyway to have an extra one. So 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 Grumpy, or 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 Innocent. So we have 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 Grumpy over here, but 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 Innocent was grown and bred by Megan at Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs or Spring Meadow Nursery in Michigan. And we got to see this one last year before it was announced. And it's a beautiful soft pink color. And of course, in acidic conditions, it'll be this very, very soft blue, but they're advertising the pink color. So here in our soil conditions where it tends to be a little more alkaline, we'll probably get this really delicate pink, which is really beautiful. And this is a big leaf hydrangea, so Hydrangea macrophylla, but it does bloom on old wood and new wood, and you can see all of those blooms right here in the photo. So all of these are grown in Michigan, and then they make their way to garden centers where they're grown on a little more. I'm just really excited about all these. Now check out all of these caladiums. This is the Heart to Heart collection. It's like they're getting ready for spring here. Really excited to see all these varieties that are hard to find locally. I think the Stockslager does a really good about pulling new varieties that are going to be really popular and having them available at their garden center. Now, what do you say we go take a look at the baby plants that I'll be getting this spring? Also, if you're local and you want a little behind the scenes, I think next week, they're going to be giving some tours of their greenhouses. So if you want a little behind the scenes like I got here, then come next weekend. Check out all of these hanging baskets, all these beautiful geraniums in them. I love this color geranium. There's a tag. What is this? Hold on, I will find. Fantasia Salmon. I really love these mixed shade baskets as well that have all sorts of different shade plants in them. I am this year, it'll probably not be super high on the priority list, but I have a couple baskets coming that will be going under the porch on the patio. So they'll be hanging, or next to the pool, they'll be hanging on the upper deck. And I've got to get some eye hooks in there to get all of those things hung, as well as drip irrigation to take care of them, because I'm not the best hanging plant dad or hanging planter dad with watering. And so because these are really nice because they're really big reservoirs of soil, so they won't dry out as quickly. But the smaller ones I have issues with because I just can't seem to get them watered sufficiently enough and regularly enough. And I think that's something we all struggle with. Look at these huge crescent garden containers that they're preparing. These are probably for like a city. I think I mentioned to you last year, cities and townships bring their containers here. They have a program where they plant them up for cities and townships. And these, at least some of them, are the self-watering variety, like this one. And so they're easier to maintain watering. The bigger ones aren't self-watering. I have these at home in a smaller version. Those are massive, but they do hold a lot of soil, which kind of helps with that watering aspect. Look at all these super healthy tomatoes and eggplants. And here's more of these baskets that have sun tags in them and the shade tags, which is nice. Ooh, look, this one's got a coffee cup, so it looks like alocasia or calicacia in it that I just showed you. Here we go, baby begonias. I think it's always interesting to see the begonias blooming when they're literally just tiny little stuck things in the ground. Now, I think I forgot to cover begonias in my annual video, but I am getting some this year, and I'm getting the same varieties that I got last year. So I'm getting bronze leaf white and bronze leaf pink, and just because they performed so well at the last house last year in the ground and in containers, I had them around some boxwood spirals, and those things looked amazing through frost. Check out these Pamela Crawford type containers. I don't know that I saw these last year, so I don't know if these are new. These are hanging baskets. You know, I had one on a post at the other house, and I tried to bring it with me, and I broke the spike that's in the ground. And you can't order just the spike. I tried, so I think I might just concrete the whole post in the ground, but these are neat because you can plant all around them. You see these little holes? These are really difficult to plant up yourself, so I like that they have them here pre-planted, because usually the root balls are difficult to get through these tiny little holes and slits, but these are going to be really beautiful. These have sweet potato vine in them. What else is in here? Looks like some petunias. These are going to be gorgeous, but because these are really big reservoirs of soil, they'll be easier to manage as far as watering too. What's the pricing on these? $80. And if you were to buy just this basket and lining itself, you would probably spend close to $50. So this is a really good value here. I forget how much I paid for the whole stand, the Pamela Crawford stand. I think this is actually the same basket I have at home. So I really like this. Look at all of these sun patience. So Stockslager grows these sun patience for landscapers in these trays, and I find it really interesting. And I had the option to order some of these this year because you just really plant the whole tray in the ground, and there's 3 in a tray, and by the time spring or summer rolls around, they are just fully covering the ground. I didn't go that route this year. I went ahead and went with the smaller ones like I had last year, but these are a really beautiful impact to put right in the ground that the landscapers around here order from them every year. You can see a lot of them and a lot of varieties are grown. I think I did not get the tropical rose this year, which is like the yellow and green variegated leaf, but I did get the same variety of sun patience that I got at the last house last year, because I never got to show y'all in a garden tour, but shortly after we moved out of that home, I came back and took a picture, and I'll put it on the screen here because I have it. And it was gorgeous. Those sun patience, after they had gotten enough sun. I don't know that they had enough sun in that location. It was eastern facing and is more shaded the rest of the afternoon. But after they got enough sun and it got really hot, they really exploded. And so an excellent bang for your buck in your garden planted directly in the ground, which I have had hard times at the last house finding things that would actually perform in the ground, and those were incredible. I mean, look at this bloom. Gorgeous. This variety is Compact Red Candy, and it is warm in these greenhouses. It's only like 30, 32 degrees outside, so I had to take off my big coat and put on something a little lighter when I was coming in the greenhouses. I'll probably freeze in between going in the outside ones, but it'll be a nice cool down period as we continue looking at the Proven Winners things, because those are typically stored in the bigger greenhouses over here. Check this out. So I just noticed it while I was walking by. They put a container in here so they don't have to disturb the roots of these plants. They're holding a spot to put a future plant that's not quite ready to stick in here, which I think is an excellent idea. So they'll just pop this plastic out, and the root ball of the next plant that goes in there will be planted in one of these containers, and you just stick it in there to grow on. But what an excellent idea to continue your business while you're waiting on other things to grow on, and then just pop it in there and go about your way. A tip is you can definitely do that in your containers, and it's really easy to do if you have like a lot of soil. Put all your containers in there, remove your plants from them, and then you tamp down the soil everywhere where it needs to go, and literally just pop your plants into those places after you remove the containers. Super easy. I've done it before. You can also do it in the ground. It's not as successful there because you don't have loose potting soil, but it works really well in containers. Now we can see some of these annuals growing on. These, I think these are these the solar power? Sweet potato black heart. Yes, so I've got some of these coming, and they performed really well last year. I'll pop some pictures on the screen of these. that I put in my 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 garden beds and also in the containers out front, but they did really well when they had a lot of root space in my vegetable garden and really added a nice pop of color and texture to a vegetable garden space. Even though it wasn't super productive, like as far as providing vegetables for me, it was totally worth it for the beauty. And this year I'm trying Solar Power Lime Heart, and I'm probably going to be planting these in the landscape and in containers for a nice contrast with the Solar Black Heart. And they are a really limey sweet potato vine, but also super vigorous. So really good option here. There's a lot of this Main Street variety Coleus. I really love this orange color here. This is Sunset Boulevard that are growing on. Ton of varieties, lots of variegation. Burgundy, ooh, this one's nice. Get that velvety tech color there. Ah, there's my babies. And I'm getting this, is this Angel Wings? Senecio or Senecio? Yes, Angel Wings Senecio. I'm getting this year. It almost looks like if you could also plant like a Bergarten sage, but these get really large, so much bigger than a sage. And they're an annual in our zone. They could be perennial in lower zones if y'all find this one in garden centers. But really interesting color as far as like the silver color, gray, silver in your garden to contrast with really any other foliage. There's not a whole lot of things in the garden that you can find that are this color, so it stands out so well and provide a lot of impact to your garden. Summer Wave Terenia. This is Summer Wave Large Blue. Summer Wave Violet, so both a blue and violet color. You can see them contrast right here. One is much more purple than the other. Here are the Garas that I'm getting, the Piketty, Stratosphere Piketty Pink. Still little babies, but we've got some blooms coming on these. These will be really high and airy just in a few more weeks. I can actually see some of those in the back there already putting on a lot of growth and coming on strong. Then we've got some of this 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 that I'm growing this year. This is Endless Flirtation and Endless Illumination, which I had issues, I said, with proven winners over these names, because Illumination I think of white, but Flirtation is white and Illumination is like a purple color here. Coming along well, and we've actually got some blooms. Oh, that's the Senorita Rosalita Cleome back there. So we've got some Cleome, those are about to bloom. So cool. And here's the Golden Butterfly. What's this? This is Ageranthemum. So I think it's the Marguerite Daisy. This pretty foliage. Got Artist Blue Ageratum. I got almost every proven winners variety that they were offering this year. So I got some of these coming and the tags right here. And then I have some of this Truffula Pink Gomphrena, and I got 2 flats of these because I've grown them before. They perform incredibly well. A good centerpiece or a thriller for your arrangements, but I'm going to plant a lot of them in the ground this year. And then some Diamond Frost Euphorbia, which I have also. Oh good, there's big tags here too, so you can see. Got some dahlias in here. These are little, like cutting landscape dahlias, so they don't get super large. Maybe 2 to 3 foot tall, but really pretty. I grew this Endless, City Lights Purple last year. The foliage is really nice, but the blooms are also to die for. And these are Lemon Coral Sedum, which I did not see on the list for my order. I don't know if they were listed, so I could get them, but really beautiful. Alternative to the Angelina, and although I think it says they're hardy like to zone 7, I've had these come back at my old garden year after year in the rocks or the gravel of the staircase to my patio, so they will come back for you here. So purchase them as an annual, but keep them, don't throw them away or plant them in the ground at the end of the season. They make great in baskets. I planted a ton of them in terracotta planters, just tiny, like 1 gallon terracotta planters, and let them spill over and get really thick. So I'll have to pick some of these up because I didn't know they were available. We have portulacas and lots of begonias. If you're into begonias, look at this color here. This one is Portofino hot coral. Really gorgeous. Look at all these babies. Now, when you come in this greenhouse immediately, and I just walked through the door here, it smells like marigolds. And that's because all these marigolds are down here on the ground. So it's interesting that although they aren't blooming, they do have buds all over them. I can smell them just walking in the greenhouse. So neat. A lot of the wave petunias down here, which I've grown before, do pretty well. I've not had great success with them in the soil, but I told you at the last house our soil was kind of crummy because people who built the house, the developers, scraped all the good topsoil away and we were left with really bad clay. I think they'd do better if you had a little better soil in your garden. But we stumbled upon all of the petunias, and this year I'm getting 2 flats of bubblegum pink and 1 flat of Supertunia Bordeaux. So those are my petunias of choice. So here are all the bubblegum, which is a really popular variety. These are Vista petunias, so they get really large. Good for the landscape. Can get 3 to 4 foot wide in a season given the correct conditions, and can get up to a foot tall. So they're a little mounding in the landscape. Here's a Supertunia Mini Vista White. So any of the Vista series is really vigorous. Be careful what you pair them with in containers because they could take over. But this is the bubble gum that I'm getting this year, so that very nice pink. They have jazzberry, which I planted last year. I like it. It's a little more purpley. I think I prefer the bubble gum. Fuchsia is also really beautiful. Look at all of these pretty petunias. This one's really interesting. Well, looky there. My favorite petunia. Looking real good in this greenhouse. Got some buds on this one. I love this one. They have done so well for me in hanging baskets. I had them as huge trailers on some hay racks that I had on the last porch. I don't have a great place to put like hay racks at the new house other than maybe on a fence, and getting drip to those areas is going to be kind of difficult. So I don't know that I'm going to be repeating hay racks unless I can find a good spot for them. So I may be able to put them on the upper deck on the railing there. We'll just have to give them a try and see how they do. Hardest thing about moving to a new home is having been able to repeat some of the same type setups and annuals year after year. It's completely shaken up. So what I can do now. So I've got to find some other beautiful ways to display some plants for the coming years. Oh look, here's my garden sage that I ordered. Sage is a really good landscape plant, not just for having the herb available if you need it, but for contrast in the garden, because it grows that gray color, silver foliage, and it's really good to add like as a border plants. I really love using it, and I've ordered I think a couple flats of these, so I'll have a total of, it looks like 16, what is that, 12, 24 of them to plant around and edge some spaces in the garden. Also doesn't need a whole lot of inputs, and so it's easy that once you got it planted, it'll do its thing. Look at just how pretty this view is. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for this video. I've got to pick up a couple things, including some soil, so I can start growing some things from seed in the barn over the coming weeks, particularly the zinnias and a few of my vegetables. Thank you guys for joining me on this first greenhouse tour of the season. I've got a couple more hopefully coming for you as I go find some things to plant in the garden this year. Take care, everyone, and remember, be a light. Bye.